People often ask me if it's okay to write their own material at an audition. It is, as long as it's so well written that I do not know that you wrote it. Some people think they're good writers, and maybe they're not. Again, if you write your own piece, share it with other people, especially a professor, someone who will have a good critical eye and be honest with you. And then, and only then, do it. Don't just share it with your buddies who may think you're funny and love it no matter what it is. Share it with people who are going to be critical, and then you can do the piece. I've seen some people write pieces at auditions and they do extremely well. At one audition that I was sitting at as a director, a young woman came out and she did this piece, and I still remember lots of it today. It's not word for word what she said, but I remember it because it was so funny. And she did it in a dialect, which you should never do dialect. You should try to speak in a standard American dialect. The reason for that is if I speak in a British dialect or an Irish dialect or a Southern dialect, the judges will spend most of their time trying to listen to the dialect to see if I'm doing it correctly. This is a disadvantage to you because they're not listening to you act. They're not watching you act. They're just trying to listen to the dialect. Meryl Streep is one of the greatest actresses in the world. She does dialects very well, but if you've ever been to a film where Meryl is speaking in dialect, it takes about 5 minutes before the ear gets used to hearing the dialect, and then we forget about it and we just listen to the performance. But you only have a minute, and during that entire minute they'll be judging the dialect instead of you. So don't do a dialect. But anyway, this woman wrote her own piece and she did it in dialect and got away with it. And it was hilarious. She came out and she goes, "There I was working props for the Diary of Anne Frank. And I noticed at the end of intermission that Mr. Frank had forgot his yarmulke and he left it backstage. And I knew he needed the yarmulke in the scene. So I just went over to the door and knocked. And I waited a little while and then I knocked again, and finally an actor came to the door and I went, 'Hey, Mr. Frank, here's your yarmulke,' and I left. And I'm sitting backstage and I started eating some cake when I heard these footsteps coming up the hallway. And the director of the play came in and he started to curse me and told me, didn't I know that nobody ever entered that attic that the Franks were in except the Nazis? Well, how could he take me for a Nazi in these Gucci boots, this outfit, and my hair? Directors are weird. The directors in the audience went crazy. They laughed at this piece, and she got callbacks because they wanted to find out what the play was from, what the speech was from. They just thought it was brilliant. So if you can write a really, really funny piece or a really, really dramatic piece that you can play well, go for it. There's no rule that says that you can't. And that's it for today.